At least once a month, a major multiplayer title goes offline for good, and it's usually 3 different paths games take to reach this point. Number 1. The big CEO pulls the plug, giving devs no choice but to shut off servers. Number 2. The devs decide game is indeed finished, updates stop, and they instantly switch focus onto a new project.
For their next project, they are proud to announce No More Room in Hell 2.
And number 3. The saddest way a game can die is players leaving and moving on with their lives. That daily addiction quickly turns into more of a yearly visit to explore what was once a big chunk of their childhood.
I opened this game, got hit with the music, and I was like, oh man, I haven't heard that in 7 years. So for me, like, big old nostalgia blast.
8-bit MMO at its core is a 2D open-world sandbox game with a world that hasn't been reset since its release in 2012. The result of that is years of preserved history and storylines across a few 100-kilometer wide map. There was an active community of a couple hundred people at most playing 8-bit throughout its golden days. That was 2012 until roughly 2015, when the game officially launched onto Steam as a full release.
Hi, I'm Robbie Zinchak, the creator of 8-bit MMO, as well as the entirety of its development team. Over the past 2 years, I've been fortunate to watch the game grow from just 1 player to over 75,000 registered users. And they're creating amazing stuff in the game. Everything from huge statues, to sprawling cities, to pixel art, and they're even making cool stuff out of the game too.
8-bit MMO wasn't abandoned by its developer. In fact, Robbie, the sole creator and founder who developed 8-bit for over 10 years before its release, is still around today, and hosts meetups like the 10-year release anniversary meetup they hosted just a year ago. Players could turn up to get a special Steam achievement from Robbie himself, and at the same time meet some faces they probably hadn't seen in years. Over 50 people attended, which set the record for the most people seen online in over 4 years. Usually when I find a game like this, I add it to my bookmarks for the future and then move on. But I saw it was free and thought I may as well hop on quickly just to see what it was all about. The perspective of this game is gonna take some getting used to. So this thing here is the Pocket Universe Telepad, and we're gonna use that to basically go everywhere that we need to go to. I think it should... Oh. Okay. This was my own personal space. Back when the game was active, players usually used this to store their valuable blocks or show off a bit of their wealth. Personally, I whacked all the blocks I had down, and then figured out how to teleport, which I used to go to a village called Valhalla. Oh my goodness, it worked. I believe we're at a town called Valhalla. Long Ineus's house. Can we go inside? Oh, that's cute. So although the wiki stated that the teleport pad called Bastion took me to Valhalla, this place looked nothing like the image of Valhalla. Instead, this was a huge fort named Bastion, founded in 2012, actually a year or so earlier than Valhalla. I'm now realizing by listing Bastion it probably meant there was a teleport to Bastion in the village of Valhalla. Regardless, every corner of this fort had massive creations, but I couldn't stop focusing on something else. The signs that players had placed literally everywhere. A random name's house, yay. I'm guessing... Oh, hello? Mudkip123's house, yay. This used to be my safe house till Brock like totes found it, you know. So I heard you really like Mudkips, watch it on YouTube, so yeah, as Mudkips do when the sea Brock Right. Genesis Gaming's house. These names are so... like... late 2000s. I love it so much. Superman's house as mayor of this town. I wish I could talk to some of these guys, but there's a high chance most of these lot have forgotten this game even exists. I found a few player items dropped on the floor just outside Fort Bastion. It was my first and only sign of player activity, and they had likely been laying there for up to a decade by now. Thanks Gui for the best 2 minutes 39 seconds freefall ever. Stairway to Heaven rocks. Okay, I'm pretty sure, based on various info I've discovered, that this is a Stairway to Heaven right here. Stairway to Heaven, 25 steps between each floor, 8 pixels for each step, so 200 pixels between each floor. Okay, well, let's go up. I'm scared I'm gonna fall. I've been going up for about 3 minutes so far. And I'm still going. Red brick, so might be getting close to the end. I did eventually reach the top, but sadly the views on this game aren't as good when you're this high up. I walked around the Museum of Bastion and then found a massive boat that wasn't even on the wiki image. This meant Bastion had probably been an active village for a good couple of years. I decided to log off for the night after wandering around a few other smaller areas, but I then joined the 8-Bit MMO Discord and found a name I recognised. Hello?
What's up? I opened this game, got hit with the music, and I was like, oh man, I haven't heard that in 7 years. So for me, like, big old nostalgia blast.
This was Satie. After I sent him a message asking about 8-Bit and I realised just how much he played this game, we agreed to meet up for the video. I was looking at the global map. There were dates that people had written in, obviously, the map. It was like 2014, 2015.
To my knowledge, the map hasn't been updated in years. We used to have this little thing called AutoCap, and it was just like a little NPC bot, but it was a player, and you could actually find it. It was kind of funny. So sometimes people would be like, AutoCap's here, and everyone would just teleport there and follow it.
Like the Google Maps car?
Yeah, literally like a Google Maps car, but in real, well, not in real life, what am I saying? The opposite, in-game. So there's two main maps. Originally there was one, then it kind of got filled, so Robbie Z, aka Sim9, was like, okay, let's add a new map. We got the second map. I feel like they were called like Equal 66 and Equal 67. That sounds right in my head. I could be wrong. They were kind of like a free-for-all, like, you could drop a town stone, and then that would kind of be your town, and it had a certain space. But then also, you had a pocket dimension, and then your pocket dimension could also be a town, and then it would be a bit bigger than the default size, and I think those are on the map.
AutoCap obviously isn't running anymore, but when it did, it became a bit of a trend to go out and find it, as Satie said. And I even found a picture of someone who uploaded themselves doing that to the forums in 2014. I know Google Maps has been around for a lot longer than that, but it did really remind me of one of those pictures like Rainbow catching himself on Google Maps.
That big empty one. Now that, I believe, let's zoom in, that I think is the map we were not supposed to... Yeah, there I am. Yeah.
That's sick. I never saw that.
So this is the map we were not supposed to have access to, but, you know, the mods realized it existed, and then he teleported me in, and I was like, sick, I know what I gotta do, so I snuck in there. So, yeah. Oh, I can see my town. Who's that? Just down right there is my main city. I actually inherited that from someone. I think that's me. That looks like... Hi, Satie. Nice.
Is that past you writing that, or is that someone else talking to you?
No, I think that's a friend who knew it was a bit that I would, like, sign things, and then I think they just did that. Because they knew that that's my town. That was my biggest town right there. I started turning it into, like, a pattern, and you can see I did not finish.
Then when we were talking about the server costs and the player donations, Satie mentioned a pretty familiar name.
These servers, I think, are going to go for the next 20,000 years, because basically there was two main funders of this game, and we would do, like, with this big event every October called, like, Oktoberbit.
Yeah. Where
two things would happen. One, we got pumpkins, which you could light, and the other thing was we would do, like, a fundraiser for the game to keep the servers running. And basically, most of us were teenagers who had part-time jobs and did not spend a lot of money in this game. But there was the few adults, which was mainly a guy named KJH787 and Zerp. Those two are probably the biggest supporters of the game. They spent a lot of money, and they determined the value in gold in-game of what you'd pay for plat items, because they were the ones spending their real-life money for them, so...
KJH was the same dude that founded Bastion, the fort I just happened to visit earlier myself, and that makes sense given just how big it was. Credit to those guys, they're probably part of the reason it's still here.
Yeah, no, they genuinely are. Like, 100%. I think one of them, I think Zerp actually, I think he gave him a donation outside of the fundraiser, just to, like, keep the game running for longer.
We spent a while stumbling around places Satie was familiar with or knew about, and found some fellas that had literally built a house on top of each other, with a sign from the guy in the floating house telling the fella below to kindly piss off. There were little pieces of inter-community lore like this, quite literally everywhere. Wherever there were player signs, there were stories being told from over a decade ago. This game was the biggest time capsule I've found since I first discovered the oldest Anarchy server in Minecraft 2b2t in 2019. One of the biggest differences though is that 8-bit is far less documented. You don't have an entire timeline of player spikes or notable players. Instead, the wiki for 8-bit consists of just a handful of bases, and the large majority of them are either massively outdated or lacking basic information, for example as to who constructed what. The problem with that is that everyone who knows that information or could construct a timeline doesn't play anymore, and probably has no idea this game still runs. But honestly, the unknown aspect as to what you could find next made exploring the game all the more meaningful.
I kind of invented this game. It's kind of gambling in a sense, but it's not, so don't worry about it. At some point, dice got added. So if you go press E on this, you can see that we can roll dice. And basically, you would take turns, and it was like if you rolled 2 in a row, doubles, dubs, you'd get a point, and you'd put it on your little TV here. But one time, the hypest moment, we watched Zerp and KJH, our 2 wealthiest players. I think they played a game for like 1 million gold. And like, that was probably the most players I've seen on one screen. Like, everyone's like, all right, get in a seat. And we watched this big, like, your Logan Paul TV broadcast boxing. It was so silly.
How many people do you think there were?
There must have been like 20 to 30, which is almost the most the server probably ever had.
Near the end, SetK discovered Zerp's private vault and teleported me there, where Zerp stashed a lot of his most valuable items. There was also a good example here of one of the many glitches you could do with blocks. This one was done by offsetting the Z-axis through a method I know absolutely nothing about.
There's him experimenting. You can see these like glitched blocks where you could like place them in the wrong Z-axis.
Did the dev ever like want to get rid of this, or was this just like, they found it out?
He did, I think he knew how, the one with the paper, he's like, I'll just leave it in, because people did cool stuff with it. He's not going to stop you. Like, he was kind of like, if you're not breaking, like, abusing things in the game, if you're just doing something cool, like art with it, he's like, I'll just let it rock.
Given the time in which this game had its golden age, the builds often match whatever was going on in the world, so seeing something like a 2D art of Gangnam Style was relatively common. Nah, we could be here for hours, man.
Oh, literally, like, again, you could get a degree in exploring the existence of this. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff. And I think it's the fact that it's like, you know, people do this in like Minecraft, for example, all the time. But it's the fact that it's like this big persistent world. You know, you could just leave your mark on the whole of existence here.
Yeah, I mean, your mark's still here, 10 years later.
Yeah.
Like, that is undeniably very cool. And it'll probably be here in 10 years' time as well. Back when you were playing, did you expect to be visiting it 10 years later and seeing it so empty like this?
No, but I mean, I feel like after a certain point, like we watched kind of the numbers dwindle down because it's, you know, it's like the nature of like, I feel like any kind of online game, any online group, it's like if you enjoy the social aspect, you know, or building like art projects in a little weird creative way, you stuck around longer. If you didn't, maybe you'd be here for a couple weeks, couple months, maybe in a year or two, and then people are like, man, I got better things to do. So slowly dwindled away. I think closer to the end, I'm like, you know what? If the server's up, I'll pop into this game every 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure there's a couple other players, but since it's empty, it's like, what else you can wander, I guess. If I went into Discord right now, I'm like, guys, get online real quick. Come on. They'd probably do it. I'm sure, you know what? I could probably pull 20, 30 people maybe to show up. But like, if I'm like, let's play this game actively again, they'd be like, no. Sorry, I got a life now.
Everyone's kind of moved on.
They'd be like, I got a wife and kids and a mortgage.
How big of a part of your life was this game?
I mean, I actively play this, like I said, from 12 to about 17, so a good 5 years. Like, I'm 25, so a fifth of my life. And I'm sure as I get older, I'll be like, it wasn't that big of a deal. That's a pretty sizable chunk. I have 2,000 hours in this game, I think. Nerding out over this is like, genuinely, I'm so glad that you contacted me for this. It feels like a very sad game to be like, yeah, this has a special place in my heart, our stupid little dead pixelated MMO, but it really genuinely does. Like, if someone that I played this game with contacted me and said, hey, I'm this person from this game, you want to show up at my wedding? I'd be like, dude, when and where? I'm there.
Any links that you want for yourself?
I'm a retired streamer, to be honest. I don't know. I feel like if I had any shout out, it would just be like, for anyone that used to play this game, like, I hope they're doing well, that's all.
No, I like that. That's perfect. I think we're done.
Absolutely. Yeah, get some sleep, man.
I'm off, man. Alright. I
All
appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
For sure. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Take care. I think the world of 8-bit MMO deserves to be showed off in more ways than just this video, but I hope this can at least give you an idea of what this time capsule is all about. I highly suggest logging on and checking stuff out for yourself. The map is partially broken thanks to some outdated code, but you can fix it by changing some browser settings, and I'll link the forum thread that helped me fix it below. By using /public pad list in game, you can see all the pads you can teleport to. To use one, just type /public pad space tele space the name, And if you find anything special, I'd love to hear about it in my Discord, or feel free to send me your finds on Twitter. Chivalry is one of the most popular hack and slash franchises, but like all fighting games, it's had its fair share of problems and drama. With the release of Mordhau in 2019, Chivalry Medieval Warfare saw almost all of its players leave for what was essentially a spiritual successor. Torn Banner then fought back with the release of Chivalry 2, bringing back thousands of players, but both development teams alike received pretty similar criticisms. And today, both games are on the decline. In April of 2024, Chivalry Medieval Warfare had its servers officially shut down by Torn Banner. This obviously didn't affect the community servers that are still running to this day, but a lot of players were understandably upset. It marked the end of an era. Some of these lots spent 10 years of their life on this game, just for Torn Banner to rip away all support to focus on Chivalry 2, except 2 months later they announced that will also no longer be receiving content updates. Despite numbers dropping, Chivalry 2 still sees a couple thousand players log on every day. I logged on at about midday and saw at least 30 odd servers full of players, not even playing team objective, but instead on a map called Juilliard. Hello mate. Lovely. Thank you mate. Okay, you can get off my body now. Has he just taken my head? This first day of play was all about learning the absolute basics, and any kill was just a bonus. Starting to feel like I'm not too good at the game. We're gonna kick this guy and then we're gonna run away. Pretend we didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. The game had 3 different basic attacks: overhand, underhand, and slash. You could also jab and kick, not to mention countering hits to retain stamina, but come on. I was still a while away from that. How do I look down? There we go. Okay, not a great start. We are being shot at, but it's okay. 1 kill, please. That's all I... How are you not getting shot? After I played a couple team objective games that didn't go terribly, I played around with the armor customization and then prepared for tomorrow by messaging some fellas on Discord. A couple days before I first tried Shiv, I sent a message to the leader of one of the game's most active clans, Bob. I had a lot to learn about this game, and these guys were the perfect answer.
When people are hacking, they'll be flying around and insta-killing you.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, mate, it's a massive problem.
I haven't encountered like anything like that yet, but...
Torn Banner have officially just given up trying to stop him.
Myself, 2 of the founders of Bob, Amanding and TJ, and a member called Cheds for Beds had a good chat about the state in which Chivalry has found itself.
Yeah, they focused on a zombie game. Very disappointing. Yeah. And they've practically left this game behind to make that one.
Do I keep holding block as well?
Yeah, you can. It's
okay.
Fine.
That was
perfect. And again, yeah.
It's like, so there's a rhythm to dueling. It's more or less, it's I strike, you strike, etc. I strike, you strike, like that.
Yeah.
If you throw a strike, your best bet is to wait for me to throw mine. If you're just swinging like this, my hit will land before yours. It's quite hard to explain, but it's like...
I get it.
There's a rhythm, you know? So a lot of people, when they start the game, they go in and they're just slashing loads and loads, expecting to hit. But as soon as I block one of your hits, you have to wait for me to strike you back, because I have the initiative. But I'm actually well surprised you got the counters that quickly. It normally takes people like a good 5 minutes to start countering.
With the knowledge I now knew, we headed into team objective together, and for the first couple games I actually almost held my own a little bit.
I've made a friend, guys. Hey.
Sorry mate, free kill.
Leave him alone.
Oh, he's not dead. Oh, I'm dead.
Wait, what?
Fucking karma.
But any kind of success we had in the first 2 games went right out the window, and once the 3rd or 4th game concluded, we called it there. Only until Sunday, when they were hosting an inter-clan 2v2 tournament. Now, I didn't mention it earlier, but I actually knew Cheds for Beds through a group I was in on a little old Minecraft server you might know called 2b2t. The chances of me finding someone I actually knew in a random Discord of less than 40 people was pretty low. But us teaming up for the tournament and actually winning were probably even lower. Except we actually won in round 1, beating T-Meds and TJ in the decider. We are actually through. Like, we're actually through. Round 2 saw us get absolutely smashed, and the same happened in the losers bracket, but congrats to Enos and Combat Wombat for taking home the win. Obviously, big thanks to Amanding, TJ, Cheds, and everyone else in Bob for the welcome they gave me. I think if clans like Bob were to stick around, this game has a future. But that's a big question of if. Is there anything going on here anymore? Or are they, like, fully out?
That's it. They've done their last update. Their last update was the Regicide one, which is what the cover is at the moment. I don't think they're making great money. I don't think it was a worthwhile investment for them to keep making updates. But
the zombie game is so bad. It's like they're probably making more off Shiv right now, and there's no more updates, no more future for the game. So it just sucks, bro. Because clans are just keeping the game alive, and honestly,
and they're dying now as well.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the bigger clans, a few of the bigger clans have sort of crumbled in the recent months, which is a sign of the times, I guess. There's still probably 5 to 10 out there that are, well, in EU anyway, like between 5 and 10 that are pretty active and still do events and still have players and shit.
The truth is, clans are slowly leaving the game. The community is becoming more and more disconnected from the developers, and it's incidents like the one with Sota Dave that create such a tense atmosphere.
Do you know about Sota Dave, the YouTuber? He's a big Chivalry YouTuber, and he had like weekly thing. His whole channel was Chivalry based and that sort of like night game based, but he was always extremely critical of Chivalry and like always had bad things to say. Anyway, he knew about the cheaters and he made a video on it saying like he showed how easy it is to get cheats, and like it's just like a couple clicks online. It's really not hard to find, and you install it super easy and you're done. And he was showing it to like expose it. Like, this is how easy it is, how bad Torn Banner's anti-cheat is. And then Torn Banner banned him for it. They banned him, all his Shiv accounts, banned him from the Discords for making that video. Didn't, like, speak on it, just banned him, said, oh, he's promoting cheats. And then, not that much later, he took his own life because, like, his whole channel was based around Chivalry.
Sota Dave was one of Chivalry 2's most loyal content creators. He posted over 120 videos on Chivalry 2 across the span of under 2 years. Almost 30 of those being tutorials. The video that Torn Banner banned him off of was his 2024 April Fool's video that for less than a few seconds displayed a link to an extremely well-known cheat website's homepage, obviously poking fun at the fact Torn Banner were failing to deal with cheaters. Torn Banner then banned Dave indefinitely after this, just weeks before he was set to host not only a Chivalry tournament, the Premier League, but also a Chivalry 2 Animal Rescue charity stream that he heartbreakingly never got to do. Just 2 days before the livestream was staged to take place, a few players announced to the Chivalry 2 subreddit that Sota Dave had passed away. After the boys told me about him, I spent an entire evening looking into Sota Dave, and the impact he made on this community was so obvious. I want to mention that I'm obviously not using this to take a jab at the devs. They created an unironically very good game and struggled with a problem almost all competitive games have, and that's hackers. It's just an extremely sad and unfortunate situation all round. Torn Banner have silently moved away from Chivalry 2 while still maintaining it to a certain degree, and keeping the servers running. But with Chivalry 1's recent shutdown and Torn Banner's newest release in full swing, you can only really hope the Chivalry 2 servers don't eventually meet the same fate. A Californian-based development team called Cryptic Studios were responsible for the initial 2004 launch of City of Heroes. They followed that up with a City of Villains sequel in 2005. They then sold half the rights to NCSoft, who then formed Paragon Studios to continue development. The game carried on as usual up until 2012 when NCSoft announced both Paragon Studios and City of Heroes would be closing.
Paragon Studios was told by NCSoft to stop any and all production on City of Heroes and to have the game shut down by the end of the year, as well as Paragon Studios has to shut down. I'm really sad to hear that they're doing this. I mean, all good things must come to an end at some point, but I know that there are some MMOs that have been around for so long that are still out that don't have that many people playing it. So I don't understand why City of Heroes can't be one of them. Like, it's not like you log in and the servers are empty. They're not.
But that wasn't quite the end.
The game was really, really well loved, and when it left, it left not because it wasn't making money and not because people weren't here. It left because NCSoft decided they wanted to put all their resources into another game, which then failed. They didn't want this game to pull anybody away from the game that they wanted to focus on. So they cut it down when it was still making money and active. And it broke our hearts. It just really broke our hearts. And it was saved by some people who just couldn't stand to see it die. We don't even really know who that was, but they gave it to this person who started Score, and he kept it under wraps for about 6 years.
A few players had kept the code to themselves and under the wraps of a private Discord relaunched the game. There were a few advantages to this relaunch, such as a few things that were paid for items or perks before now being completely free. But the biggest inevitable drawback was the need for secrecy.
There was one person who got banned and then got very upset about it, and he started going and trying to tell people about it, but it was so secret that there were people where he would go that would ridicule him, or they might take his comment down or something like that. So it stayed secret for a long time, and then finally he got some video and was able to put it up, and people were like, what? And some people were super mad about it, and that is like the 4chan people. They were super mad, and they started up Rebirth and had kept the game kind of the way it was, because they didn't want anything to do with the guy who had kept it secret and the changes he had made.
This is Dacy, by the way. She runs her own YouTube channel focusing mainly on the building aspect of City of Heroes, uploading base tours and building tutorial videos. She kindly agreed to talk to me about the game and later showed me around what players have managed to create with what is a 2-decade-old engine. But back to how we got here.
What he did was he then released the code into the wild so that it can never come back. And then they found a whole bunch of other people who had kind of different pieces of what had been, and they put it together and were able to come up with Homecoming and then get it licensed and so forth to be like the official server.
Homecoming is the server I tried playing a few months ago in my own time. It's the most popular emulator due to actually having an official license now. There are a few others without licenses, but NCSoft doesn't seem interested in any kind of interference, which is at least a nice trade-off for how they left this game. Before Dacy and I got in a call, I had played a couple hours of dungeons with random players that invited me along, and that's also the reason I had this abomination of a character pre-made. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I thought we would start on Everlasting. This is the pagoda.
Wow.
We'll get a better view of that soon. So, like this bridge, these are actually wall trim that she's laid on its side to make the bridge.
This was the pagoda, built by Squidget. Each of these builds is made on a private plot of land with a limited amount of space and a limited amount of pieces. Pieces are essentially each and every item you put down, and this is the first build that had reached the limit of 20,000.
We just see the sushi bar over here. I hate to spoil illusions, but these are actually toilet paper.
I see that. It's a great idea, to be honest. Any idea how long this would take to construct?
It varies. Some bases take, like I'm going to show you a spaceship. It took me 3 months. That was very fast.
That fast?
That's fast. I mean, each one of these things here is an individual element. Like each one of the different trees that are different colors, those are each a different element. The overall bed, that's a different element.
A good example of why this build had reached the limit on pieces was the bell up top. It was made up of probably 30 little arches, all rotated at slightly different angles. But not everyone on City of Heroes goes for this style of immense detail.
This one is an entire city, so this one's very iconic. If you ask people about going to visit a base, they will almost always say Karma.
Estrada Karma was made by Dropout, and although it feels a bit bigger, it's actually made up of just 11,000 pieces.
Like you'd see in a little European town. It's actually meant to be a pirate town, but...
Yeah, it looks like a place I've been personally, for sure. It does look familiar.
Uh-huh. We have an endless water, but he hasn't put it in. We didn't get that till later, so that's one giveaway that it's an earlier base.
Dacy and I basically spent the next couple hours going to every iconic creation she knew about. Some of them dating back all the way to 2020 when this game first finally got its licensing. For context, Dacy tried teaching me a few things about building, and I just about managed to get this bookshelf to hug this wall. It's not an easy engine to get used to. We then travelled to this endless bookcase spiral build made by BB Badger and Easter Bunny, followed by a giant metro plaza built by Garbage Wizard, using a bunch of little tricks to give the illusion of it being an actual train station.
You know, he's done it all from point of view so that you can see it
really smart.
when you're inside, but on the outside it's just like a stage.
Dacy then TP'd us to the Dryad's Tree by Alula. Wow, this is stunning. Oh, the lighting is what makes it so good.
And the colors.
Yeah. How does that work?
Well, we discovered there are some objects that your character slides over, and then this particular object is called Fresh Brains. And there's 4 jars in a row, and it propels your character in a certain direction. So when you line them up, it will propel you along the tops of these jars. And the fun thing about these jars is they are an FX as far as how they look. So when you put them under something that strips FX, like water, this particular kind of water, they disappear.
Is it just one type of fish on the game?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of critters. We'd like more critters, but...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's probably not going to happen.
You don't think?
No. They're not super into bases. Some of the devs that we have currently are, and so we haven't gotten anything for a little while. I keep trying to convince them that bases actually bring people to the game, but since, you know, they're not getting paid...
They would.
Since they're not getting paid, it's kind of hard to make that into a convincing argument, because that doesn't get them anything, you know?
Yeah.
They tend to focus on what they have time to do, and what they have time to do is going to be pretty much following what they are interested in, which makes total sense, but is frustrating from a base point of view.
One of the most detailed bases I'd seen so far was rats. An entire underground city built for rats, making use of really creative little mechanics like LEDs flashing on and off.
You see, she's used flicker here.
Yeah,
to make...
I saw that in your video. I remember seeing this.
I love this person's creativity, and she's got, you know, it's like a junk world that rats might have put together.
I also got to see some of Dacy's own projects. A commission build she did of a spaceship the size of my head, an event base that she opens up each Halloween and runs together with a few others, and then the chapel she made that genuinely looks like the real life version of it. Also, wow, that looks incredible.
Thank you. I fell in love with the actual place and went, oh yeah, I can build a curved chapel when there's no assets in the game that are curved. Sure, I can do that.
You did.
And I did. So I'll show you. This is a real life chapel. I just sent them on the Discord.
Wow, that almost looks identical. Genuinely. Each of these took weeks, sometimes months to construct. The chapel piano alone, she said, took her a few days. I think the pure amount of hours some of these players pour into building on this game is incredible, and I couldn't even begin to explain builds like this octopus by Interabang, or this art by Pouncy that uses urinal cakes to create the illusion of a mosaic, made before you could even snap objects into place, meaning each cake was placed and aligned individually with zero guide. I really don't think NCSoft quite realised just how incredible of a community they'd created, and eventually left behind.
This is the best community. Everyone, I'm not into a lot of other games.
Yeah.
This is the only one I'm doing like right now. From people who regularly game in other games, they all say this is just the best community anywhere. We're very helpful. We're very sharing. If somebody is saying, I don't have any influence, somebody, check your email because 5 people just sent you 20 million each or something like that. I mean, it's just really an amazing community, and people are very friendly. This game was so loved. There were groups that went and tried to buy the rights, offered them lots of money to try and get the rights for the game, and they consistently, still to this day, refuse to sell the rights to the game, refuse to give up the characters, refuse to give up the rights. And we don't really know why. I think a lot of players really like creating their own worlds. I think that's what Minecraft comes down to. I think that's what a lot of the base building in this game comes down to. When you have the freedom of the character creator that we have, plus the freedom to create our own worlds and even our own stories in AE, which is where you can write your own missions and so forth. This game gives you so much creative freedom that I do think that even though if you look at the character, how we look versus pretty much any other game that's out there now, it looks so not very detailed and so forth. The hair is stiff and all that kind of stuff, which would be great to have, but we don't care because we get creativity in so many other ways. And that's why we love this game, I think.
Dacy and I covered a lot of stuff that couldn't be shown in its entirety without making the video 2 hours long. So instead, I'll leave a few links below to some videos that cover different aspects to City of Heroes, like those people who prefer to grind characters to level 50 and run dungeon events all day. There will also be a link to Dacy's channel as well, with more detailed tours of plenty of the bases I showed today. I never expected someone to dedicate as much time as she did to finally helping me delve into at least one aspect of City of Heroes. And hopefully in the future I can check out some other areas of it too.
Anyway, it was so much fun showing you around. I had so much fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, honestly. I'm so glad I found your channel.
I'm glad too.
It's a really bittersweet situation this game has found itself in. On one hand, thousands of people get to play the game they loved again, and use everything for free at the same time, 11 years after it was officially sunsetted. But the trade-off is relatively little content updates, and arguably an uncertain future with NCSoft wanting to hold on to its IP so badly. Alright, I feel pretty bad for how long it took me to get this out. I'm looking into getting an editor at the moment to speed things up, so if you're good at clicking buttons on Premiere Pro, send me a message on Twitter, maybe we can sort something out. Also, almost forgot to mention that due to the dodgy upload schedule, I've reopened my YouTube memberships. And by subscribing for I think £2 it is, you can have your name displayed in the outro of every video, if you want that for some reason. Apart from that, cheers for 350k subs, and if you have any games that would suit another video like this, send it to my Twitter or join my Discord using the link in the description, and post it in there.